A flashback in the opening scene depicts Smeagol and his friend Deagol, two hobbits, fishing in the river Anduin close to the Gladden Fields in the north of Middle-earth. A strong catch pulls Deagol into the river, where he finds the One Ring sparkling in the water. He gathers it and emerges from the sea. Smeagol notices him stroking it, and as they both give in to the ring's influence, they start to argue. Smeagol requests the ring, saying that it's his birthday and it ought to be his present. The quarrel transforms into a battle. Smeagol chokes his companion with his exposed hands and pries the ring from Deagol's gripped clenched hand. Smeagol is alienated from his local area and driven away. Experiencing awfully depression and disgrace, Smeagol takes comfort in his affection for the ring, which gradually torments his psyche. He takes singular shelter in caves underneath the mountains, where affected by the ring he resides to an exceptionally extraordinary age. He lessens into a slouched, subtle, lurking animal known by the disagreeable commotion he makes in his throat, Gollum. In the present, Frodo and Sam are dozing in an alcove on the edges of Mordor. Sam wakes up and discovers that his boss hasn't been sleeping. As they approach Minas Morgul and Mordor, the days are growing shorter. When Gollum shows up, he exhorts them to continue. Away in the west, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, Gandalf, Theoden, and Eomer ride through the woods of Fangorn to Isengard, where they meet Cheerful and Pippin devouring among the destruction. They track down Treebeard at the pinnacle of Orthanc in the focal point of Isengard, where Saruman has been caught. Gandalf goes against Gimli's call to kill Saruman, saying that the wizard has no power any longer and will represent no further danger. Saruman shows himself to them. Gandalf breaks Saruman's staff, denying him of his power. Grima, who is still with him, cuts him with a blade. Legolas shoots Grima with a bolt, yet Saruman tumbles to his demise, arrival on the spikes of an enormous water wheel. As they are talking, Pippin sees Saruman's palantir among the junk and is enchanted by it, however Gandalf rapidly takes it from him and conceals it under his shroud. The gathering rides to Edoras, where Lord Theoden has arranged an enormous dinner to hail the successful dead of the skirmish of the Hornburg. There Eowyn shows love for Aragorn, which Theoden sees. He tells her that he is glad for her, Aragorn being a noteworthy man and the modeler of the triumph at Styria's Profound. Gandalf communicates to Aragorn his interests over the journey. Aragorn advises him to confide in everything his heart says to him, that Frodo is as yet alive. Gollum rises and shines in the night as Frodo and Sam are dozing and heads out aside to mumble to himself. His malicious half detects a few uncertainty in Smeagol and demands that on the off chance that he can kill once, like he killed Deagol for the ring, he can rehash it. Gollum then, at that point, starts driving Smeagol through their arrangement, to convey the hobbits into the grasp of Shelob in Cirith Ungol, after which the ring can be recovered. Sam hears the discussion and beats Gollum for his foul play. Frodo intercedes, expressing that as their aid Gollum is important for their journey. Sam glares as Gollum streaks him an underhanded grin while Frodo's back is turned. That very evening back in Edoras, Pippin's interest gets the better of him, easing a dozing Gandalf of the Palantir. He investigates it. Pippin sees a dream of a white tree in a stone patio set on fire, yet in doing so he is gotten by Sauron and submitted to mental torment and a dressing. Aragorn attempts to protect him, momentarily presenting himself to Sauron. Pippin recuperates from his experience and it is found that he didn't tell Sauron anything of the ring's whereabouts. From Pippin's vision of the white tree, Gandalf concludes that Sauron is currently moving to go after the incomparable Gondorian city of Minas Tirith and he heads out to send advance notice, taking Pippin with him, in case his desire to investigate the Palantir get back once more. Passing on Rivendell while heading to the Undying Terrains, Arwen has a dream of Eldarion, the child she will have with Aragorn. She understands that her dad deceived her when he said she and Aragorn had no future together. She gets back to Rivendell and persuades Elrond that having spurned the existence of the Eldar, she can't leave Aragorn now. She lets her dad know that, as predicted, an opportunity to reforge Narsil has come. Narsil, the Blade of Elendil, is the inheritance of the genuine beneficiary of Isildur, the one who utilized the sword to cut the One Ring from Sauron's hand. Gandalf and Pippin show up at Minas Tirith, City of Lords, that was worked out of the stone of Mindalluin. There Pippin perceives the White Tree as they go to track down the steward Denethor. They approach him as he grieves over Boromir, his child. Pippin swears faithfulness to him in reward for Boromir's penance. Denethor is by all accounts made up for lost time in his melancholy and has not gone to lengths to strengthen the city against the danger of Sauron. In the meantime, Frodo, Sam, and Gollum show up at Minas Morgul. Careful about the foe, they find the winding step that falsehoods concealed in the precipices encompassing the damned city. Right at that point, the entryways of the city open and the witch ruler of Angmar, head of the Nazgul, dispatches his gigantic orc armed force from his sanctuary, proclaiming the beginning of the conflict. The overflow of the military is seen by Gandalf and Pippin as a blaze of lightning takes shots up at the launch of the entryways. At the encouraging of Gandalf, Pippin lights the first of the guide signs to Edoras, cautioning Theoden, Aragorn and the remainder of the Rohirrim to assemble at Dunharrow and thus to Minas Tirith. As they leave Edoras, Aragorn sees that Eowyn saddles up with them and that she is girt with a blade, yet she demands that she rides just to see them off and that the men have tracked down their commander in Aragorn. The Morgul armed force crosses Anduin at Osgiliath in shoddy boats and draws in the Gondorian contingent in fight. The orcs demonstrate major areas of strength for excessively drive the Gondorians out of Osgiliath. Faramir and his couple of enduring men retreat to Minas Tirith, sought after by the Nazgul. Gandalf, braving to meet the withdrawing men, wards them off, saving Faramir. Upon his appearance, Faramir tells Gandalf of the hazardous course Gollum is taking Frodo and Sam on, persuading Gandalf of Gollum's foul play. The hobbits, led by Gollum, are battling to climb the very steep steps. Gollum connects and feels for Frodo, saying that he figures out his torment. Gollum additionally harms Frodo against Sam, saying that Sam will attempt to take the ring from Frodo. In the Cot Osgiliath, the Witch Lord orders his commander to send forward all armies and destroy the number of inhabitants in Minas Tirith, saying that he, at the end of the day, will break the wizard Gandalf. Denethor, badly satisfied by Faramir's bombed safeguard of Osgiliath, maneuvers him toward taking a destined ride to recover the city. Gollum keeps on playing the hobbits against one another, this time by faulting Sam for eating their food arrangements. Frodo, in his tricked state, is dubious of Sam and orders him back home while Sam, attempting to be useful, offers to convey the ring, subsequently satisfying Gollum's shrewdness expectation. Faramir rides headlong into the bolts of the settled orcs as Pippin sings for Denethor who nonchalantly eats his early afternoon feast. Faramir's assault fizzles and Faramir is hauled back by his pony in a demise-like trance state. At the weapon take at Dunharrow, a hooded figure gradually rides on a white pony along the twisting street to the camp in the slopes. The figure uncovers himself to Aragorn as Elrond. He gives Aragorn his inheritance, the recently reforged blade Narsil, presently named Andúril, Fire of the West. He asks Aragorn to utilize this blade to review the dead men of Dunharrow and utilize their devotion to the main beneficiary of Isildur to stop the assault of the Corsairs' boats, which are now cruising from the south. Aragorn acknowledges this insight and heads out that very night into the Dimhold, alongside Legolas and Gimli. As he is planning to go, a sad Eowyn comes to Aragorn and beseeches him not to go, proclaiming her adoration for him, yet Aragorn, knowing since Arwen has declined the commitment of Valinor, in like manner denies Eowyn's affection. The following morning, Theoden heads out to battle with 6,000 riders, ignorant that Eowyn and Happy, who were both told to stay behind by the ruler, are important for his military. The Morgul powers, made generally out of orcs, start the attack of Minas Tirith by catapulting the heads of caught detainees over the walls. Denethor sees his child Faramir and trusts him to be dead. He likewise views the Khut of the powers marshaled against him, and at this he loses trust in his psyche, requesting the Gondorians to leave their positions. Gandalf, in any case, steps in and debilitates Denethor, taking command of the safeguard. A clash between Gondorian catapults and Mordor's launches results until the Witch Ruler and the other ringwraiths on their fell monsters assault, obliterating the catapults and sowing fear among the safeguards. Away in Cirith Ungol, Gollum deceives Frodo to the monster bug animal Shelob, however Sam gets back to fend her off. Sam accepts Frodo is dead. However, when orcs from the pinnacle of Cirith Ungol come and research, Sam hears that Frodo has just been incapacitated by Shelob's stinger. In Minas Tirith, Denethor, stricken frantic with melancholy at having spent the two his children, readies a burial service fire for him and the oblivious Faramir. Denethor is ignorant that Faramir isn't dead and the fire will consume him alive. Gandalf and Pippin show up in the Blesses and figure out how to save Faramir, yet Denethor is tossed onto the fire, and as he consumes to death, he turns and sees his child mixing alert from his wounds and fatigue. Down in the city, the fight goes sick with the Gondorians, as the immense battering ram Grond breaks the entryways of the city and savages pour in. As the safeguards retreat to the upper levels of the city, the orcs creep through the roads of the lower levels, plundering, consuming and slaughtering the men of Gondor. However, out of nowhere amidst the disarray a solitary horn enters the air, and all go toward the west and see the multitude of Rohan show up finally, to the ascending of the sun. The Rohirrim dash into the orcs with incredible impact. Anyway, their bliss is stopped by the appearance of the powers of Herad and the huge elephants, the Mumakil. The Witch Ruler dives on Theoden, killing Snowmane his pony and lethally injuring the Lord. Apparently just under the wire, the Corsairs' boats show up to help the abandoned orcs. However, Aragorn leaps off the lead transport, trailed by a multitude of the dead. They totally annihilate the orcs and Mumakil, while Eowyn and Joyful kill the Witch Ruler. Theoden passes on from his injuries, and Aragorn holds the dead armed forces' vow satisfied, letting them out of their revile with the goal that they might find happiness in the hereafter. Sam salvages Frodo from Cirith Ungol, which is generally vacant following a battle between the two groups of the Pinnacle's orc post over Frodo's important mithril shirt. They start the long journey through Mordor to Mount Destruction. Gandalf understands that 10,000 orcs stand between Cirith Ungol and Mount Destruction, which will keep Frodo from arriving at his objective. Aragorn proposes they lead the leftover fighters to the dark entryway to draw the orcs away from Frodo's way, as well as divert the eye of Sauron. Sam conveys Frodo up to Mount Destruction, however Gollum shows up and assaults them, similarly as the clash of the Morannon starts. At the break of destruction, Frodo, rather than dropping the ring into the fire, surrenders to its power and puts it on, vanishing from sight. The demonstration cautions Sauron, who sends the ringwraiths hustling towards Mount Destruction. Gollum renders Sam oblivious, then goes after Frodo, holding onto his ring finger and gnawing it off. As Gollum celebrates at last having recovered his valuable, Frodo, still under the influence of the ring's fascination, charges at Gollum. After a short battle, the two of them fall past the brink of the slope. Gollum falls into the fire with the ring, while Frodo scarcely holds tight with his solidarity coming up short. Sam salvages Frodo as the ring at last sinks into the magma and is annihilated. Sauron's eye shouts as his substance blurs before the pinnacle of Barad-dûr implodes and afterward detonates, perpetually banishing his power. The orcs, ringwraiths, and the excess powers of Sauron are consumed in the resulting shockwave as the earth falls under their feet. The dark entryway and Mordor are both shaken separated. Frodo and Sam become abandoned when the whole top of Mount Destruction is passed over in a huge emission. In the midst of the lava flows and the devastation of Barad-dûr, they express their grief at not being able to see the Shire once more. Gandalf is able to summon the eagles to take the hobbits to safety once the Nazgul are destroyed. With the exception of Boromir, they are all Fellowship members who have survived the War of the Ring when they awaken in Minas Tirith. Aragorn marries Arwen and is proclaimed King of the West in Minas Tirith, ushering in a new period of peace. At this point, everyone bows in adoration of the tiny hobbits. Sam marries Rosie Cotton when the hobbits return to the Shire. After completing his entry in the Red Book of Westmarch, Frodo is still dealing with the after-effects of the wounds he sustained from Shelob and the Ringwraiths at Weathertop. He resolves to travel to the Grey Havens and board a ship to Valinor with Gandalf, Bilbo, Elrond, and Galadriel after realizing that he will never experience peace in Middle-earth. Sam receives the Red Book from Frodo to record the years of his future existence before they set sail for the Havens. The final vessel to depart from Middle-earth thus departs, slowly pulling away from the coast and traveling up the straight road into the utmost west. Sam is left staring into the glowing sunset as Pippin and Merry depart. Sam returns to Bag End in the last scene, where his wife Rosie and kids welcome him back up the way. Sam sighs and says, "Well, I'm back," as the screen begins to fade to black, surrounded by his family and with the rest of his life still ahead of him.